I often think of Harlem as a microcosm for the world. It holds nuanced histories, a competitive spirit, and a flashiness that feels very akin to a world where you have to stake your claim, show up and show out, and let people know who you are. On this episode, Darold, aka Ferg Brown, talks about growing up watching his father build a business, a brand, and a community from the basements of Harlem. The rapper, musician, and all-around artist reflects on his upbringing in Harlem, the deep influence of his late father's entrepreneurial spirit, and the world-building ambition that he has now that drives everything that he does. Let's dive into my next episode with Darold, aka Ferg Brown.
All right, what's up, y'all? I'm Darold Brown. Everybody knows me as Ferg, musician, artist, all-around artist, well-rounded artist.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today on an episode of Everything is Connected. I'm really looking forward to talking to you today. And I just want to jump right in and ask you, as someone who is an all-around
That was my episode
artist,
with
what is your
Darold,
focus
aka
right now?
Ferg
What's
Brown.
inspiring
I want to
you
give a
these
big
days?
thank you and
What
a
are some
big
of the
shout
things
out to
that
Ferg
you're
for
thinking
joining me on
about
the show.
artistically, creatively, and things that are keeping your inspiration up?
Right now, right this second, is world building. And the way Walt Disney, or you would say Kanye or George Lucas, different world builders, Apple. I'm just like thinking about how to create spaces for people to experience and curating and creating art for the world.
I love that you brought this up, world building, as a way to just dive right in and begin the conversation around what it is that you've been doing over this period of your career, over many years, and where you are now as you think about your creative pursuits. Is there something specific about the world building of Walt Disney, of the films of George Lucas, of the kind of groundbreaking work that Kanye created early on in his career that really changed the face of music forever? Are there things about that really resonate with you? Because that response is so specific and so particular, and it brings up a lot of things for me, but I'm curious, what is it about world building that kind of is why you're thinking about it now, especially in regards to Walt Disney and George Lucas, right? It's a whole world of movies, of animation, of sci-fi. So yeah.
So I want to leave a footprint that doesn't have to have me there physically to lead. You know, when I think about a fashion house like Dior or Louis Vuitton or, these different brands, they have different designers lead every so often. Like you'll have a Marc Jacobs or you'll have a Virgil Abloh who will be a creative director of a fashion house. Meanwhile, you'll have the owners and the CEOs that be in the background, but they're leading the taste and have a pulse on what's happening in culture. So I want to create a space and curate a vibe for my world. It don't always have to be from me physically. It can be my taste. So I've noticed that I have really good taste, and some people may be specialized in things way more than I may be specialized in things. So yeah, I'll leave it up to them to do what they do best and just curate it, bring people together, build community, and live in harmony.
Love that. Next question. As you think about where you are in your career, where you are in your life right now, the ideas of building community around different different types of taste and different aesthetics, both visually and culturally, can you speak a little bit about how Harlem has shaped you and how you think Harlem is a place that prepared you for where you are in your world now, and kind of thinking about Harlem as a microcosm for the world at large? I lived in Harlem for many years. I'm originally from Brooklyn, but I moved to Harlem when I was 12, and I lived in Harlem till I was like 26 or 27. So I spent a lot of time uptown. And I think for me, going between uptown and downtown, it was just this convergence of cultures that was like so incredible. as I reflect, I don't even think about it every day anymore, but I know it informs my worldview so much.
Well, shout outs to you for moving from Brooklyn to Harlem. I don't hear that too often. I don't hear that too often, but I love Brooklyn. So yeah, Harlem is very flamboyant. I think of Pink. I think of the Cotton Club. I think of Michael Jackson. I think of Apollo. I think of James Brown. I think about Anita Baker, Josephine Baker. I think of the Harlem Renaissance. All of these things, Harlem culture, even when it comes down to, the guys who is in the neighborhoods with the fancy cars and the nice clothes. And it's so small that it's competitive. That's why we always joke on each other if our shoes is dirty or, we don't have fly outfits on, because it's very community based. It's very small, and we always striving to outdo each other and be innovative. And we notice it because it's right there in front of us. So if somebody comes out with the blue shoes, you try to think about how I'm going to come out with the purple ones tomorrow. How I'm going to do this. How you going to up the next person? And I think that competitiveness is instilled in me without me even really fully knowing as a kid that I'm this athlete of jiggy or creative, and it bleeds out of me, and it bleeds out of everybody that's from Harlem. You could be like the most broke person in the world from Harlem, and you're still gonna be bright.
You're still going to be fly, right? You're still going to pull up with something on.
Exactly. Still fly, still confident. Yeah.
Definitely. Next question. You have a career that intersects with fashion and music, and a lot of that comes from your earlier background in your childhood of your dad working in the fashion space. Can you share a little bit more about this intersection between fashion and music? Because you've done so many incredible things during the course of your career, and you're moving into a visual art practice now, putting shows together, doing exhibitions, and as you said, world building. I would love for the audience to know a little bit more about your origin story, how your dad's work in fashion inspired some of the things that you did early in your career as you developed your music career.
So just a quick layout of who my father is, what type of man he is. My father was heavily into the community. He not only did stuff for the industry, printed shirts for Teddy Riley or Heavy D or Puff Daddy or whatever record label, Rough Riders, Jadakiss, but he also printed t-shirts and painted shirts for local community gatherings, basketball games, Easter egg hunts for the kids. He did events for block parties, basketball teams. So my father was super instrumental in building a community, and he definitely was one of the leaders coming out of Harlem, hitting the world. He had friends from around the world coming to Harlem, and he was like I would say a pillar, because he held like everybody up. And to see that was very inspiring, because he had businesses early on. Like he had a clothing store called Ferg Apparel that was on 145th between 7th and 8th. And then he had another venture called Heggy's, which is a food restaurant where he served like fresh fruit drinks and hot dogs and things like that. And then he had a game room for the kids and a laundromat. So I watched my father grow as well, because I was with my father in the trenches when he was working out of basements and doing silkscreen shirts with plastisol paint and shooting his screens with emulsion. And he would teach me how to like make my own screens and things like that. We would go to Standard Screens and get like supplies, and then go to the Chinese guys to get the embroidery done, and then go to, the different places downtown. We would go to Eisner, was his name, to get the t-shirts. So all of these different people, he met up with the creative product, and I learned a lot from my father just by working with him, staying close to him. I learned how to paint from my father. The first thing that I painted on was t-shirts. He taught me how to layer my paint, dry it with a blow dryer, and make the colors pop more by keep layering it. And I started a business selling t-shirts in junior high school from that. So my father, I watched him grow. He went from silk screening in basements to putting his clothes in stores, in Fat Joe's store. He would put his shirts in the store on consignment. And then it went from the consignment to him getting his own store, Ferg Apparel in Harlem. And then he opened up a few other businesses. So yeah, I watched him grow. I was there for it all. I watched him build. I picked up all of the lessons, and I'm glad that I was able to do that before he passed on.
I'm sorry to hear that he passed away.
Yeah.
It sounds like he had such an incredible impact on your life.
Yeah, I even went to the same high school he went to. I went to Art and Design High School. We had one of the same teachers, Miss Delbridge, which was my fashion teacher.
No way.
Yeah.
Shout outs to art and design, because I think you're also just kind of reminding me of what New York was in that period of the early 90s, like early mid 90s when you're in high school. Just that time in New York City's history, some of the really incredible schools like art and design, like LaGuardia, like fashion industries, there were all of these schools where people went to, and this incredible creative generation has come out of that, right? And now many of us are in our late 30s and early 40s, having built creative careers, but on the backdrop of New York City being your playground, right? The city of endless opportunity, right?
Yeah, I wanted to go to fashion industries, and I wanted to go to LaGuardia, but I got accepted to Art and Design. But thought I did because I met so many wonderful people there. Wall Arazuko, he went to that school. My boy Jay West, my boy Juan Don, LA, Carlton. And some of these guys, they just, they became huge. Laquan Smith, a lot of alumni that I was cool with, and that school is successful now. So shout outs to Art and Design. It was like a great fraternity.
Next question. So everything that's come before has set the stage for where you are now. All of the experiences that you've had have led to this moment in your life. When you reflect back, what do you think were some of the most impactful and some of the most meaningful experiences in your early years, from dropping your first album, Trap Lord, in 2013, to the popularity and rise of ASAP Mobs, and to the projects that you started doing very shortly after? Are there some moments that really stand out to you?
Watching a lot of this stuff manifest, and just knowing that when a door's open, you don't have to have all of the answers. Because I didn't have all of the answers. I never desired being a rapper. Like, I thought I was going to be the first Virgil Abloh, like designing at a fashion house and making art and stuff like that. I went to school for art. But I seen the opportunity in music, and I took it because I always was rapping. I would battle rap and things like that. But I didn't have all the answers. I used to actually be scared. I used to be really scared to get signed because I was like, what if I'm not inspired, or what if I can't make a song on a dot? But then when I let that go and I told myself, as long as I'm having fun doing this, I'm going to keep doing it. That's when it just went. It flowed for me. So yeah, just knowing that I don't have to have all of the answers and being aligned. At the time, I was working security, and then I quit that job, and my friends all had something to say. It was a movement that was very strong. We never seen something like this coming out of New York, let alone Harlem, let alone the world. But we were just doing it for our own small space. And from our own small space. We wasn't even thinking about Australia and London and all of that at the time. We were just going with the flow and just vibing. And it took us to where it took us, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and that period I feel like that period that you're speaking about, like before Trap Lord came out, maybe before a lot of kind of things happened with ASAP, New York was a very different place, and New York nightlife was very different than it is now. And I think the party scene and the nightlife scene where young people could really let loose and you would be rubbing shoulders with celebs in a way that is different now. It's not that it doesn't happen anymore. It's just that the access to things was very different. There was this New York downtown energy that I think a lot of people, I can speak for myself, but just that there's like a missing of the good old days because those days are really gone and New York has changed so much, right? And so I think.
No, I just feel like.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That was all good. I was just thinking as you was talking, like I'm thinking about Club Santos, Party House.
Yes.
Amazing.
Exactly. Greenhouse.
And Vashti and Q-Tip parties, Greenhouse. When Dame Dash had the spot in Tribeca that we all went. We had 40-ounce bounce, which was uptown under the bridge. We had a lot of link ups. It was early internet ages, so we was just discovering internet, but we were so used to being outside. And we couldn't all wait to go to the club because we were sneaking in the club anyway. Sneaking in Club Mansion. I snuck in a Watch the Throne listening party. We were sneaking everywhere. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was a different time. We wasn't relying on the internet to have fun.
You actually had to link up with people in person to do things. And I think right now we're seeing a lot of folks wanting to return to that. So if we talk about the show that you did, showcasing your work, it was last year at Scope, right?
Yes.
In Miami. And you did your 5K run and you're bringing people together in person. It's almost like a reminder of what was it like previously that we would gather in person, right? You weren't gathering in the internet, on the internet space. You weren't gathering in the ether of that. You were in real life with folks, connecting and tapping in.
That's a fact. And that's my statement, is like bringing people together. The art is only a tool to bring people together because I want to hang out with people. I miss hanging out with people. I don't want to just look on Instagram at people having fun. I want to get in tune with it because when we're looking at it on Instagram or on the internet, our mind doesn't know how to equate what's real and what's fake. Like, so our dopamine is being shot through the roof, but we ain't put no work in. We ain't work out. We ain't party. We ain't jump up and down. We ain't do none of that. But our brain think we did all of that because we just watched all of that. So we get left with all of this energy and nowhere to like disperse it because we still in the house and we still sitting down. So it's like, let's get outside. Let's get some fresh. Let's go into these different restaurants. Let's hang. There's all of these things around us. And it, you know, the internet is a great tool, not to bash the internet, but we just got to use it a little bit more. We got to monitor it a little bit.
Definitely. You said something that I want to get back to, which is that the art is a tool to bring people together. Yeah. I could imagine that you would, that one could say the same thing about music, right? Music is a tool for communication. It's a vehicle to bring people together or to share ideas. Right. Fashion does that in its own way as well, right? There are all of these creative avenues that are really about, I might think one thing and maybe me and you have a similar viewpoint about something. And here's this other thing that brings us together, right? Here's this art piece that brings us together. Here's this song that brings us together. So as just to pull it back and zoom out a little, as you think about your career, as you think about your work, as you think about the thing that you want to leave behind or the thing that you want to exist, whether you're at the helm of it or not, which is to a point that you brought up earlier, do you think that you've always been thinking about that? Has that always somehow or somewhere been in the back of your mind that you want to bring people together, that you want the work that you do to be a vehicle or a tool for something, whatever that thing is?
Yes. I thought about that yesterday. That's funny you asked me that. I literally came across that thought yesterday because I was thinking, what was I into when I was a kid? And what do I still do now as an adult that I want to do as a kid? Because I feel like that was when we're at our purest when we're kids. So I always think back on like what moved me as a kid. And I always was not by myself because I had an aunt my age, but I'm the only child. So I always wanted to have friends around. I had a room with a bunk bed just in case I had a sleepover with my friends. Like I didn't have no brothers growing up. Only a brother on my father's side, and he came later. But I grew up having a lot of friends around. And when I think about my first music video with Rocky, Get High, the song was cool. I just wanted to bring all my friends together to show the world what my friends was doing. It wasn't even really just about me. It was about like my community. So yeah, I think that I've always been trying to bring people together, pretty much.
As we round out the episode with a couple more questions, who are some of the artists that you admire, both visual of all kinds?
Off rip, my favorite artist right now is Ernie Barnes. Was a football player and then became a famous artist. But he was always an artist, but he was ashamed to show it to his teammates and father and family and stuff like that because he thought it would be like soft of him. Big dude, come from a whole different thing. Famous football player, but then became an artist in the story. I resonate with that, being a musician, always being into art, and finally expressing it now. Similar to him. And he did it his way. He didn't do it through blue chip galleries and all of that. It was really his community that supported him and put him where he was at. And he became way bigger as an artist than a football player. When he was a huge football player, he did the painting that's in the beginning of Good Times. Carol Walker, the Sugar Sphinx is crazy.
Insane.
I love, I have to say Basquiat, but it's really not the aesthetic as much as his thought process that goes into his art.
So it's more the artist and not the art.
Yeah.
Or less.
And it's the same thing with Andy Warhol. He gave us a different way of looking at working the art system. I think Jeff Koons might use his template a little bit with the factory and everything like that. I like Francis Bacon a lot aesthetically and how he uses space.
As we round out the episode with a final question, as it gets a bit warmer in New York, and I know you have a lot of things going on, what are you looking forward to most this summer?
I'm just looking forward to a New York summer for real. I've traveled so much. I've been all over the place, Italy, London, Japan. Like I went to Asia probably like 4 times last year. And I just want to sit still and get a beach chair and sit on the block in front of somebody's barbershop, have a lemonade or get an icy from the Mexican lady and just look at people. And then listen to music, walk through Broadway, hear the Spanish music, come downtown, be in Soho, walk around, just look around. I feel like a tourist. I haven't been in New York in so long and sat in New York, because usually when it get cold, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. But I stayed here on purpose just so I could enjoy the vibes and feel the pulse of the city. And New York got it going on right now. We up right now. We winning. Like our basketball team is doing good. The Knicks is killing. Tiana's killing them. Rocky is killing them. We got like some up and coming rappers that's killing them. Fergie Baby. It's going up right now. I'm excited about New York. There's a lot of energy in the city.
I feel the same way, and I'm so glad that you said that. I think it's going to be a really beautiful New York summer. The energy feels really good right now, and it's different than the last couple of years. Like, we've just come off of COVID and everything that's going on politically, but I feel like New York is resilient. We always bounce back, and that is what it is.
Yeah, and it feels a little dead everywhere else, for real. Like, usually I would want to hop and skip and go to the West. I don't really feel like I need to. It's home. Home is where it's at.
Absolutely. We got it. Thank you so much, Ferg.
Thank you.
That was my episode with Darold, aka Ferg Brown. I want to give a big thank you and a big shout out to Ferg for joining me on the show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider supporting our work by becoming a subscriber. When you subscribe to Lightwork, you support the work of contemporary artists and the insightful and impactful conversations that I have with them as we investigate art, culture, and society. You support a female founder and a Black entrepreneurship at a time when our government and private corporations continue to eradicate DEI efforts. Subscribe to our Substack and you'll receive exclusive information and resources about each episode, behind the scenes content, and more. And remember, follow Lightwork across social platforms for more insights into the inner world of contemporary artists and thought leaders shaping culture.